Hi everyone, this is Sal Jade from the Psychic Healing Academy and best-selling tarot instructor on Udemy. So I'm here to share with you today this masterclass on how you can establish better boundaries with your clients. This is going to be perfect for you if you are someone who is a tarot reader or an intuitive reader or a healer or a coach, and you find that your clients are being just a little bit too demanding and you're taking it very personally or finding it very difficult to establish those boundaries. Now, before I get started, for those of you who don't know me, I am a best-selling tarot instructor, as I mentioned. I've been lucky enough to have helped over 90,000 students around the world read tarot like an expert, discover how to intuitively connect more with their guides, and also how to establish and run online businesses. And if you'd love to receive some of these free offerings that I do on YouTube, these tarot tutorials and masterclasses, do hit subscribe so you always get the latest offerings. So the first thing I want to talk about with boundaries, I'm going to give you 5 key strategies. Now, some of these strategies are from my course on Udemy, which is called Build Your Spiritual Business on a Budget. And I go through some boundaries and some more specific stuff there, but I wanted to give you a little get starter kit that it's really going to help you here. And also you've got some tips here that are coming from my How to Read Tarot When You Struggle to Remember the Cards. So the first thing I want to establish for you is that being a tarot reader or being a healer or being a psychic is a constant dance between establishing boundaries and compassion. So if you have had someone contact you after a reading is done, or you feel like somebody's pushing your boundaries too much even within a reading, please know this is actually absolutely normal. So I get these questions a lot as a tarot instructor, and I'm actually doing this in response to one of my beautiful students who is in my Tarot Card Success course, who has just posted in the Tarot Mastery Facebook group associated with the course that she keeps getting these clients that are emailing her anxiously weeks and weeks after the reading's over, wanting more information and just being really anxious and looking for her to settle that anxiety. So again, it's very common. Every single reader I know goes through this, and even after 15 years of reading and teaching people how to read, I still myself even have little wobbles every now and then. So it's a work in progress, but the good news is I've got some really great strategies here for you that will help you avoid getting yourself really emotionally worked up or taking it personally or feeling guilty or ashamed when your clients are constantly contacting you once a reading is completed, or when you feel like they're just infringing a little bit too much on your space. So the first thing I want to say, and this is something you always need to consider if you're in a situation where someone's contacted you on Facebook or they've emailed you after you've done a reading for them and they're super anxious and they're really pressuring you to give them more information. The first thing I want you to say to yourself every time is this: is this an emergency? Now, the problem with living in our day and age is that people can access us 24 hours, 7 days a week with our beautiful Androids and iPhones. The problem is that we find it hard to switch off and to establish that boundary. Now, just say, for example, you are a doctor. If say you're out on holidays or you're having your weekend and one of your patients walks up to you in the streets and starts a big long diatribe about how they've gone to see you and it's been 5 days and the antibiotics haven't kicked in and they're there kind of dominating you in front of all your family, you know straight away what you're going to do. You know you're going to look at them and assess, is this an emergency? Like, is this person falling on the ground and bleeding out of their ears? If they're not, I can say, okay, look, don't worry. And they're trained in doing this. They know, they say, just don't worry. Okay, like book in an appointment next week and we'll see what's going on. Now, doctors and nurses and often therapists and counselors are very well practiced in this because they learn how to do it. Psychics and intuitives and tarot readers and healers, we often don't have that training. And so for us, the first thing we do is panic and freak out and think we have to drop everything, no matter what's going on in our own personal life, and help this person. And my big advice to you as strategy 1 is to say no. This isn't an emergency. Say, for example, you've given someone a love reading, which is 60% of the most common readings. They're so common, I created a whole entire course about how to give complicated and tricky love readings. And if they've contacted you and they're like, well, you said that, he's coming in soon, or he's going to call me back soon, or you said he's going to contact me soon, and he hasn't, is your reading wrong? And they've got this sense of urgency and distress, like they've made a mistake employing you to give a reading for them. First thing you need to do is go, okay, is this person about to throw themselves off a cliff over this issue? I know that sounds drastic, but is this life or death? If it's not life or death, then you take a step back and you answer it when you are ready. Now, I don't mean wait weeks and weeks and weeks, but give yourself 24 hours, 48 hours. I have a system where I have an automated setup thing on my iPhone, which is just a text shortener where you can actually just send a reply. If you feel like you're anxious about needing to reply to it straight away, then just send an automated reply saying, hi, thank you so much. I'm going to get back to you within the next 24, 48 hours. And you're letting them know you've received it, but you're not throwing yourself under a bus to basically answer this question straight away. So it's really important as boundary number one that you establish that you need to take care of yourself first, especially if it's late at night and you're flicking through your phone and looking through things and you find this email, or if you're on holidays or it's the weekend or with your beloved family and you're trying to give to your family or your friends. Don't worry, you don't have to answer straight away. Give it some time, and that will give you some time to process it a bit. But again, if you can feel yourself getting anxious and feeling like, ashamed, maybe I didn't do a good enough job, then just send that automated reply to know that, you know what, I've got this, I'll come back to it. So that's my first big strategy. Everyone else's emergencies in our current day and age are so much more urgent, and we are so much more overworked and overstimulated by our own personal problems that unless it's something that someone's on the verge of suicide, and in which case you're not qualified to handle that anyway, you've got to refer them to a professional anyway. In case it's something like that, please do not rush to answer. Be calm and just get back to them when you feel ready. Otherwise, you're going to end up feeling resentful because you could very well spend a whole hour and a half of your time that you could have been spending with your family and friends or working on yourself or resting, answering them, and they might never answer you back. And that's happened to me, trust me. And then you just kind of feel a little bit like kicked in the stomach. So please take your time. Is it an emergency? Assess that and then take your time and get back to them when you feel ready. Okay, number two, some of you might be laughing thinking of when you've done this yourself right now. If you have, don't shame yourself, we've all done it. Number two, the second strategy I would like to talk about is assess what it is they are after. Are they just after reassurance, or are they after more free psychic readings? Now, this is something that you will get better and better with time, trust me. Sometimes people just genuinely don't understand how readings work. They don't understand that they take time. And if they're just looking for a bit of gentle reassurance that they're on the right track, then you can start giving those kind of solutions. So the first thing I talk about, and this is sort of veering into strategy 3, is what have you changed since we did the reading? Now, the tarot in particular, or even oracle cards, or if you're doing any kind of channeling or healing, will always give advice and wisdom. That's what it is. It's not destined to just be a fortune-telling tool. In fact, I often encourage my students not to use it as a fortune-telling tool because you can get into all sorts of trouble with free will and destiny. Your free will and destiny are to create your own path and to also learn your own lessons. And if you're not learning your lessons, then you're going to keep coming up against the same challenges again and again and again. And your clients will be doing this before your very eyes, tripping up over themselves, and you will need to develop a lot of compassion for their journey. So don't get frustrated with them. Don't be impatient. Don't resent them, but do understand that this is actually what they're going through. This is their journey. Don't take it on, and be very clear by saying, okay, so I remember we got the 4 of Swords. If you can remember what you got, if you don't worry, I'll give you some more strategies for that too. So the 4 of Swords says right now you need to take some time out. You need to take a couple of weeks off or some time out from worrying about whether this guy's going to call you or not, or whether or not you're going to hear back about the job interview, or whatever it is that you're anxious about that I've seen has a positive outcome. Have you done that? Time out doesn't mean, okay, I'm just going to go and listen to 10 minutes of meditation on Insight Timer and then I'm going to get back on my app and then start looking for more free readings. Time out doesn't mean constantly checking your phone to see if they've gotten back in contact with you. Time out doesn't mean planning future conversations with them about how you can change current events or what you need to be doing. That's not time out. Time out is you have put this to the side and you have focused on other things, and you have worked out that you've gone through a difficult period with maybe this person that you're waiting to contact you, or maybe a relationship's ended and you want to know the future of, are we getting back together, or whatever the question is. Time out is having a break from that situation. So ask them if they got cards that indicate the Tower or death or the Hangman, or that, which these cards always come up. They always come up. If they come up, have you done this? Or if it's even something like the Nine of Cups and it talks about how working more on, if it's a block, the Nine of Cups, it talks about more on working on your own self-love. Have you done that? So again, you're not judging, you're not lecturing, you're just saying to them kindly. So since we last had our reading, the tarot mentioned about patience, or it mentioned about surrender, or it mentioned about letting go of the past and forgiving. Have you feel like you've done that so far? Like, talk to me about what you feel like you've done. Now, quite often this puts the ball back in their court and they realize that they have probably overreacted a bit, panicking. And you can actually give them that, give them that gift they'll walk away and think about it themselves and make those changes. So it's just like a little follow-up. Don't panic. Have you done this? Go away and do that. Now, if they are really super anxious, and I mean they're really like beside themselves, you might need to tell them, okay, readings take time. Our journeys are either sooner or later. They're not specifically as, this is going to happen at this date. If it hasn't happened in this date, it might be because you haven't shifted some stuff that the reading told you to shift. So have a break from it, as that's that advice, and detach a little bit from it and sit back and give some more love to you. And let's see how you're feeling in a few weeks. And if you're still having this anxiety, come back and let's look at the situation again. Let the guides, the universe, work their magic behind the scenes. If you've got positive outcome cards that says something was going to happen, let them do that. You sit back and just you be you and look at working on you. So give them that kind of reassurance. Now, if you feel like this is a deep ongoing pattern, like you've got repeat clients and they keep doing this, then I would suggest a healer. I always have good healers on hand. I used to obviously do this myself when I was a clairvoyant healer. I always say though, if not me, someone else. Don't ever let someone think that the only reason that your reading isn't coming true is because you're trying to swindle them into giving you more money. That's not how we do things. That's not ethics. We say me or someone that you trust, go away and maybe work on the anxiety. Because right now what's going on is deeper than your reading. This is full level anxiety, and we want to settle that so that whatever you have wanting to come into your life can come in. So give them that guidance, give them that advice. Now, and again, this happens, please don't take it personally. We all take this stuff personally and there's no need to. There are people out there who will always take whatever it is you are willing to give them. Okay, so it's up to you to say, no, I'm not willing to give that. And that is if you can see they're sniffing around for more free psychic advice. And you'll know because you'll give them all that reassurance and then they'll start going, oh, but can you just see, like you said it's this, and if they start asking more can you questions that require you to do any kind of channeling, checking in on cards, anything like that, then the answer is emphatically no. You need to book another reading with me. Time will take time, sit with this, let it settle, let things change, go back to change and time, divine timing. Go back to those discussions with your client in loving, compassionate ways without judgment. Now, obviously, if someone is absolutely hounding you, then, you need to sort of say, okay, this is the reading, you've had the reading, you've got to let it play out. And if they're getting too hostile or too full on, there's going to have to be a part of you that will have to cut off, okay? And you can do that through your own meditations. You can ask your guides to protect you from the energy of this person and ask your guides or the universe to just take over and look after that person, that it's not on you anymore. You might have to do that rarely. Don't freak out if you're someone who wants to be a professional reader and you're watching this going, this sounds like a lot of hard work. Every person who works in any kind of industry where they're helping people has to learn this stuff. So it's just part of what it means to serve. So don't worry. People will come in and they will try to take more, and it's up to you to dance that balance between compassion and boundaries and say no. So I hope that is helping people. If you've got some comments, please comment below. I love to hear what you're saying, or further questions, or anytime something like this has happened to you and you feel like you want to share it, do pop it down. As I said before, hit subscribe if you really want to make sure you're getting more and more of these from me, as I do release them quite regularly, these kind of free tarot tutorials and these masterclasses. So I hope that's helping you so far. Now I want to move into section 4, and this is a big one, and this is something that all healers, intuitives, psychics, coaches, therapists, counselors need to work on, and that is especially if it's happening to you quite regularly, is you need to consistently work on you as a healer. Like, this is just an absolute must. I talk about this a lot in my Advanced Tarot and Psychic Business program. That's my certification training program where I teach people how to run online businesses in tarot and in psychic development and as healers. And I talk about how it's really important that your mindset and that your healing journey is consistently being worked on, okay? So it's a bit like you've got to make sure you don't end up like that mechanic who is great and well renowned for fixing other people's car, but has an old bomb that constantly breaks down all the time. You've constantly got to, car metaphor, you've constantly got to be, car analogy. You've constantly got to make sure that you are working and healing yourself. And when you do that, you will not attract these people. Now, no shaming if you are attracting. I just said before, 15 years in the game, I've been doing this and I still sometimes fall down and fall off the wagon. But you do need to look at, okay, what are my triggers and reactions to this? And most often it's that you'll get the email or you'll get the Facebook message or you'll get that negative feeling when they're contacting you and they want more information or they're anxious that you have failed, that you have done something wrong and you make it your fault. This is particularly the case if you are someone who has a background or history where one or both of your parents maybe was a bit negligent, or where you've suffered any kind of feeling as a child that your needs just weren't met, because you'll go into this thing that you've got to keep people pleasing, you've got to keep giving and giving and giving to get love or to get approval or to survive, which if you're running a business, that's what you're doing, you're surviving. So you need to make sure that you are going, okay, is this a real thing? Like, does this person have reason to be anxious? Am I getting really too attached to this? And being able to just go, okay, guilt's come up, shame's come up, feelings of inadequacy have come up. I feel like I have to rescue this person, the empath rescuer problem that we often can have as intuitives and healers, and being able to step back and go, it's time I worked on myself. This is just the universe telling me I need to work on myself. Something that I have noted that is really interesting, and those of you who have been reading for a while or healing for a while will probably resonate with this a lot, and those of you who want to be professionals, please keep this in mind, and that is, whenever you are at your most tired or vulnerable or exhausted, or you've just gone through something intense in your life, those beautiful boundaries that you work to establish and that beautiful high vibration that you have acting in light to help people, they get very flimsy. And what can happen is then people who are desperate for you will come in. And I've often found this in my Facebook group. So my Facebook group, Tarot Mastery, that's associated with my Tarot Card Success course, has over 10,000 people in it. And I've been running it now for nearly 8 years. And over the years, I find that it pretty much runs itself. Like, I'm in there and I have an assistant, but I'm in there and I'm helping. Conflict seems to arise where I've got to come in and step in and exert some boundaries and exert some leadership when I'm at my most vulnerable. Time after time after time. And some of you might say, well, that seems a bit unfair. And I go, no, this is just the universe saying, we need to work back on ourselves again. So you might notice that when you are feeling the most fragile or vulnerable or overwhelmed, maybe you're giving away too many free readings. Maybe you're giving away too much in your readings. And I'm going to talk a bit about that in a minute. You'll notice that is when more anxious people will come in and you'll be forced to kind of stand your ground in that Seven of Wands way. You'll be forced to say, I need to go away and work on myself now, because you'll start taking it personally, you'll get overwhelmed, and you will then, start to feel like maybe I shouldn't be a tarot reader. Maybe this is the wrong job for me. You'll get all in that Nine of Swords headspace where your head will start doing a serious number on you. And I don't want that for you. I want you to feel calm when these kind of things pop up. So for me, what you do then is you go away and go, okay. And you might not be the time, but jot it down to set some time aside, some of that Four of Swords energy of setting that time aside and saying to yourself, okay, what is this bringing up in me? When in my life have I felt that people have doubted me? When have I felt invalidated by the hard work and love that I have put into something? When have I felt ashamed that I wasn't good enough? When have I felt guilty that I didn't give enough? And when have I felt powerless? And because you remember, this is someone else's journey. You're part of their journey, like karmically, you've been chosen by the forces above to be their healer or their reader for a temporary period and help them. But also a lot of this is them needing to work on stuff. So please go away and journal. Okay, if you say, well, I can't go and get a healing, or I can't do tapping. Tapping's my favorite thing to do. I do have a course on this called Boost Your Psychic Gifts with EFT Tapping on Udemy, where you clear away that overgiving and that self-doubt. And for me, it's the thing that brings me back into, oh, what is this bringing up? Like, where is this coming from, this wounding that I've got? And so go away and think about doing some healing on yourself. Now, if you're someone who's flat out, say you've got kids and you're balancing this job and that job and this, at least do some journaling before you go to sleep, first thing in the morning. Set aside 10 minutes and just reflect, what is this bringing up for me? Okay, like, why is this hurting me so much? Why am I taking this so personally, without shaming yourself for taking it personally? It's understandable. You feel like you're probably being a bit attacked. Maybe you're not being attacked. Maybe it's just someone's a bit confused and they need a bit more further clarification. So that's a few different ways you can look at it. And on that note, please keep in mind, sometimes people just do need clarification because they forget stuff. So try not to, download everything I've just shared with you now to them. They might have actually just said, hey, did you mean this or that? And that's okay. I do, I will go, yes, I think this and this and this. Some healers and readers will even do a follow-up email a week later and say, how are you going? I'm just checking in. I would not do that unless you're doing a really full-on deep healing session that goes for about an hour and a half. For just a normal reading, I wouldn't do that because because often you're doing stuff that might have some predictive prophecy stuff in there, and that will just take time to unfold. And if you reach out and say, how are you doing a week later, it might not have been enough space and time for that to unfold. So just a little extra tip there. So my final thing to do, and this is really important, and if you do this with your clients at the start, you're not going to have to deal with it later. And as I said, like for me, I have worked on this for many, many years. Sometimes I get it right, sometimes I don't. But the first thing that you need to do whenever you are doing your healing or your reading on Zoom or whatever is you set yourself a timer. So this is particularly important if they are in front of you. Set yourself a timer. Let that timer go off 5 minutes before to summarize things up so that they know that this is a scheduled session. It's not an unlimited, let's go on forever kind of reading. So setting yourself a timer is really important. In all of your communications on your website, on all of your communications, whether it's a Facebook or they're booking it, just let them know. If you've got Acuity or any kind of scheduling or any kind of contact, let them know that this time buys them this. Okay, you've got to it's you that has to put those boundaries up, because as I said, people will just go on and on and on if you let them. I remember I talk about my first healing. I think it went for 2 hours. It was meant to be like 45 minutes. I think that was what happened. But I remember they'll go on and on. So you need to establish that in your communication before it starts. And even when you're doing a confirmation, like, hi, welcome to your thing, allow this amount of time, put it back in their court. It's going to go for this amount of time, and, let them know that. Those of you doing email readings, obviously that's a bit different. You might have established a way of, how many minutes, so 30 minutes equals this many pages or something like that. But be very specific in what the time they are paying for is going to be buying. And that way they're understanding straight off the bat that this is a scheduled appointment that takes this time. And, if you've ever seen a movie or you've ever had a therapy session with counselors, they're very good at that. They have, next clients coming. So always keep that in mind with your boundaries as well. So I hope that has helped anyone who has experienced problems with establishing boundaries and issues. As I said, I've mentioned a few different courses that I do that can also go further into this. I have a whole section of this on how to read tarot when you struggle to remember the cards. This is my course on Udemy that helps if you are struggling to read the tarot intuitively and you're looking for a beautiful little tarot planner that comes with it as well to make deeper connections with the cards. But I also have a whole section on boundaries in there, as well as my Build Your Spiritual Business on a Budget course as well. And I mentioned also my Advanced Tarot and Psychic Business program, where I go into how to market yourself in a heart-centered way and how to build up a business from scratch and how to continually get short-term and long-term clients into your business. So that's another thing that I have, another way I have of working with me if you are interested in working with me further. But again, thank you so much. Please comment below if you have any extra comments you want to make. I'll quickly do that 5 recaps again. So the first thing, is this an emergency? The second thing, going into the empathy and talking about time, so that you understand what they're going through, but things take time. Assess what it is that they are anxious about. You know, like assess it, go, okay, do they just want more free readings? In which case, straight away, looking at booking in for a future date or recommending that maybe they need to do a healing with someone, or looking at just reassuring them, giving them some spiritual tools to allow what takes place. Try to remember the cards that you spoke about so that they will remember what cards they got, and they'll go away and take the tarot's advice. So they're not looking to you, they're looking at the tarot, which is the tool, or the oracle cards, or whatever you were healing with, guides and angels, anything you were working with to help them. And also looking at the setting those boundaries of being able to set time and timing and all those kind of different things to make sure that everything is very clear. And most of all, working on you. This is a continual thing you need to do as a reader and a healer. So please continue to nurture and love yourself, and this will happen less and less in your life. Thank you so much for joining me.